Welcome to the mixing room. I'm Trent.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Soph.
I'm Amalia.
And today we have them with us to celebrate our 1 year anniversary of the show. We've been doing this for actually technically a little bit over a year now.
Yeah.
But they were some of our first guests, some of our favorite guests. We don't have favorites, what? But so we wanted to have them back to talk with them about their careers and also to have them talk with us about the past year of the show and where we're at in our lives, where we've all been in our lives, because we've all known each other a long time. I don't know, Trent, you got anything to say about that?
Yeah. No.
That's perfectly fine. If you are a viewer of this show and you haven't seen our conversations with Sophia Roselle and Amalia Fleming, please go back and listen to those after this. I think they're great examples of, you know, where you guys were at in your careers at that point, which was still a great place to be in. But I think what we're about to hear is a lot of growth and, you know, momentum for you guys and for us. So be sure to check out those episodes from season 1. We're marginally more professional now.
Early days.
Yeah. Well, speaking of early days, let's kind of get into that at least. Like, do y'all remember meeting me and or meeting Trent?
Yes.
Okay, so there may be people who've watched us who know us from like the end of college or who've met us in the time since. What are your initial impressions of freshman year, sophomore year?
I just remember, I think I met you we were taking like a voice class together, and I'm pretty sure I met you for the first time in that. And I remember just being like, oh, this guy is so positive. Like, you're just literally radiating like a positivity, and you just seem so excited to be there. And I was like, seems pretty cool.
Wait, that's so wholesome.
Yeah, no, I definitely, same thing. We were all in that same class, right? Yeah. And yeah, I just think it was like a fun community that I hadn't experienced in a class yet, where, you know, I was like, oh, I got one friend in there, and here we are making new friends. And it just felt like a hangout each week, especially just because of the setup, like more seminar style class. But yeah, I agree. Like Dan's positivity and just like the fun of like getting to do what we love in class, which is something I'm sure none of us experienced really in high school, and getting to have those classes was just special.
Yeah. Well, and I remember in that class, like the number of times that you guys would come in and like accompany each other on your pieces. And like either whether that was like one of you playing guitar, the other one singing, or then singing together. And then like in my head, like just hearing arrangements of like how these, you know, stripped down arrangements could be rebuilt or re-envisioned into something bigger. Like you could tell that you guys had so much more potential beyond just what was being played in the room, though that was peaceful and beautiful and all the things. You could tell that you guys were ambitious, and that through your friendship and through your artistry that you had collaborative potential, which you actually got to this year.
Yeah, that's very really true. Fun. Yeah, it's the first time we put out a song together, so that was exciting.
And then we've done like so much writing together, and then we've each released songs that we've written on each other's songs of. And then we released a song together on her account called The Snow That Never Freezes, featuring me. It's been really, really fun. Yeah.
Hearing Snow That Never Freezes live a few months back was like being in that voice class, but like 10 times more elegant. It was, I mean, I said it to you that night. I'm not just saying this to say it on the show. Like
you did. That was
it was growth. It was growth, and it was incredible. Do either of you?
I'm trying to remember.
Well, I don't know the exact moment necessarily, but it might have been in that class also. Because
you definitely probably came in.
I crashed it multiple times.
Yeah. And then I do remember at one point going to see, I think it was Cadence's dorm, like to see his train collection or something. And I remember you guys were there as well. And then I think that's when the first like real conversation I had with you was. And honestly, same vibe. You were a little mysterious. I was like, what is this guy's deal? Like, what's up with Trent? But then, quickly got to know all of you guys, and it was so fun.
Well, I was in there doing we're talking about the Russell. You were with him in Russell? Was that or was different?
Yeah.
So that was when I started my band. And was in there practicing, with my first little band that we were putting together. And that's when I remember seeing you then. But I really think it wasn't until we went to London that I was like, oh, we got to know each other and collaborate and like just since then I'm like, oh yeah, Trent, like he's my friend. Like
I always forget about the London Chronicles. That
Yes.
was like,
And I was also there for a second.
Yes.
Yeah.
see, I'm so
Yeah.
conceited that I'm like, oh, if I wasn't there, it must have not been. But it's
must
like,
have not
no.
happened.
It was like the side quest of all time.
Yeah, we had a crazy experience. The first night I was there, I like went and hung out with Amalia, and we went to one of our friends' shows, and we were trying to find our way there, and then we got lost. We were in this alleyway, and we can cut this if this might be too inappropriate, but I don't know if you guys have heard this story. You know the story. Yeah, and we're like walking down this alleyway. We're dressed pretty appropriately, like 'cause it's not very warm, like it wasn't hot, and this car pulls up, and this guy rolls down the window and says something weird, and we were like, ew, and then the back window rolls down.
I'm pretty sure I said F off.
well, yeah, you said-
I think I was so fed up, I just
You
turned
can
around.
swear
And
on this show.
I wasn't scared for my life.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Well, and then the back window rolls down, and this like 9-year-old to 10-year-old kid sticks his head out, and he goes, "You fucking sluts, cocksuckers!" And
I think
we
he said slags,
Yeah,
actually. It
yeah.
was slags
And
for
we were
sure.
we just stood there. I was like,
Yeah.
"What the fuck just happened?" Like
Yeah.
we just got called profanities by an 8-year-old kid. It was
Yeah.
pretty good. And then we met
Yeah.
up with Trent and everybody, and we were like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey."
It was in a really weird location, that show.
That was weird.
It was
Yeah.
in, I don't know, not an industrial park. You know, it's slightly different than here, but it was like warehouses and shit for sure.
Didn't the bartender make fun of you or me at one
Both of
point?
us, because we went up and asked for some kind of cocktail, and they looked at us like, we only serve cider. Like, what's wrong with you? And we're an English pub. We don't got fancy ass margaritas. We're like, and we were sitting there like,
That was also when I realized that their beer is like almost never more than like 5%. Because I like got like, I don't know, I want to say I got like a double IPA there, which would be like 9% here, and it was like 4.8.
wow.
So I got ripped
Pretty
off, really, is
crazy.
what I'm saying. Hey guys, Future Trent and Dan here. We hope you guys are enjoying this episode so far. We just wanted to pop in to give you guys a very exciting announcement.
That's right. As part of our 1-year anniversary celebration, we are launching stickers. We're going to have mixing room stickers up in and around Nashville in your favorite restaurants, bars, and local venues. And hey, if you see us out and about on town, come talk to us. We're happy to give you one. If you're a fan of the show and you're not in the Nashville area or you don't happen to run into us, shoot us a message. We're happy to get you one. We'll send one your way.
Absolutely. And this is only possible thanks to your guys' incredible support. So thank you guys for supporting us so well over on that coffee page and, of course, on Spotify and YouTube, listening and watching those episodes. Every single like, review, comment, subscription, everything like that does tons to help us out. So thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. And stay engaged with our socials because we may be announcing more merchandise very soon. So stay tuned for that. And now, back to the show.
So for you guys, how did you two meet initially? Do you remember?
So we met towards the end of our freshman year, and then we were roommates sophomore year. But we would have had the most iconic like Belmont origin story had it not been COVID. We were talking about this the other day.
Mm-hmm.
We were in Survey of Music Business together.
What teacher did you have?
Jason McKinney.
I had him too.
He was cool,
Yeah.
right? Wait.
When did you have it? No, I like vaguely
First
like-
semester, but I was on Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he could have
So-
had it, and he
Yeah,
had
we
an
had a-
in-person
we had a
class,
hybrid.
and
We
then
had a
put
hybrid.
Zoom up.
Yeah.
So I must have been on the screen, like.
We'll see. We were the same like time and everything too.
Yeah, was
But
it like
it was the way that they split the alphabet was like, last names, it's usually A through L and M through Z, but based on the roster of the class that changes slightly. I ended up in the first half like going in person on Tuesday or whatever, and then he ended up in the second half going in person on Thursday. So we never actually met, but it would have been like basically our first Belmont.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, we were
Almost as iconic as our story.
What's your
Okay. All right. Let's
Ours was that we were the very first ever connection to a Belmont student between each other. Like this was our first person I ever met through Belmont was over
Same.
Facebook or Instagram through the Belmont class of 2024, and I was like, oh, this girl, she looks pretty, and she's from the West Coast as well, and likes hiking, and yeah, all this stuff. I was like, okay, like gotta find my people in Nashville. And so we messaged, and then we started FaceTiming, and we're FaceTiming in like May of 2020 during COVID. And we FaceTimed for a couple months, and then we decided like, let's room together. We've got to get our, dorm roommate set up. And we're like, let's just pick each other rather than doing some random selection. And so we're set to move in together. And then with COVID getting worse again, and then in early August, all these universities were getting sent home. And since I was never been to Nashville, was all the way in California, I was like, I'm going to stay home for a semester. She decided not to. So she went, got paired with a new roommate. And we continued to talk, over FaceTime message. She kept me updated what it was like there. And then I met Fernanda in my TT group over Zoom. And I was like, oh, this girl also stayed home. So then we were like, let's room together. Craziest thing is Fernanda's also messaging Sophie.
We didn't know.
Separately. And then we get to Belmont in January and all link up. We meet, we become friends. But Sophie, of course, had like built this friend group in person there that, everything would have been much different if I had lived with her from that very first semester. And we were like, okay, next year we'll live together. We'll live together next year. And then sure enough, it was like, oh, it just doesn't make sense. Like, she's got her own setup. I've got mine. We're like, okay, well, maybe our junior year, we'll move in Tall Hall. And then sure enough, it was like, oh, okay, but we've got our own setups. And then it wasn't until like we graduated and people start dispersing that we were like, oh my gosh, are we going to finally live together after 4 years of college not living together?
For half a second, I was just thinking, what the hell is she talking about? They lived together junior year. And I was like, no, that's not correct.
No.
And I wasn't even thinking that you lived in her house. I was thinking that you lived in her apartment. Because I was like, weren't they all in Hillside?
That's what you would think, right?
Major brain fart.
So now we're going on year 3.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy since graduation. But this will be our 3rd lease that we're gonna sign.
It's so funny. I feel like everyone is was so confused by the living situations junior and senior, because everyone would be like, oh, Amalia's in 1605, which is a house that I used to live at. And I'd be like, no. And they're like, oh, but Lily and Sydney are in 1605. And I was like, no. That was so confusing.
It's the boys in the basement.
That
river didn't take hold, but we tried to start it.
I think what's even crazier, though, is if, like, you had sat all of us down in a room before we had all met and been like, you guys are going to all film a podcast together 2 years after you graduate. I would have been like,
ew.
No, I would have been like,
podcast?
Really? Because I just wouldn't, I would be like, a podcast? Because also back then, podcasts weren't as big of a thing. So I was like, why would we do a podcast? But now it makes total sense. All I listen to is podcasts.
Yeah. Anyone.
Now we're adults.
Anyone can do it.
We're podcasters, I guess.
Now we're late to the party. Really.
No, we're just doing the thing. Like they're like, oh, people who have podcasts, they just don't know how to hang out with their friends unless they're like recording. But when was the last time we sat down with them like this?
We were having a ball before we started recording. I wish we didn't have to cut it, but we do.
That's true. But I'm saying we've never done like let's just hang out like normal people.
Right.
Always like, let's put it on film.
But
that's okay. And that's why we cut some things, because then those are for us.
There we go.
When do you guys think you knew that you wanted to like really do your own podcast or do something that had to do with getting more involved with fellow Belmont musicians and stuff?
I mean, I know my answer, but do you want to?
We both separately started exploring, I will say, in this direction. Not necessarily the idea of a podcast, but around similar times. And I know for myself, for a class project, I was like, what if I did a podcast? And I actually did a couple episodes of a podcast that was completely unrelated topic-wise to music, but was a really neat experience. And I just kind of did it with my roommates for this project. But that lasted, I don't know, a little bit for me and made me realize that it was possible. So I had that in my back pocket for eventually when Dan came to me with this idea. So now I'll let you.
Yeah. Well, when was the podcast you did for class?
That was either the spring of 23 or the fall of 23.
Okay, of 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were way ahead of me then.
He was masterminding this whole time on his Taylor Swift grind.
Invisible skin. No.
Oh my gosh, this is totally all an invisible string, just
Yeah.
platonically, you know.
Platonically.
I would have gone with professionally.
Sorry,
musically,
professionally, creatively,
you know.
musically.
For me, it was spring of 24 because it was, it's the end of senior year. We're getting to that. So it's the end of college. So it's the end of everything at Belmont. Like, I mean, a million things, but obviously Showcase being the quote unquote big thing. And then going like, what do I do with myself now?
Okay, you're glazing over Showcase. Dan literally hosted Belmont Showcase. It's like this thing where it's basically like kind of a music contest, kind of like American Idol in real life, but you get to perform on a stage and it's all Belmont students, and there needed to be a host, and you were amazing. Like the most amazing
A
host.
charisma.
Yes, the best host. Should have your own reality TV
I mean,
show
I
or
remember
something.
thinking, I was like, oh, this is ending for all of us. And that was one thing that you were focusing a lot on that last year. And I was like, what's Dan gonna do? Like,
Well,
he
'cause
can't just
also-
stop this.
Yeah,
Like,
what do you do like career wise? Like if you were somebody who was involved in those shows, and those shows are all student led, there's like, two professors that kind of keep an eye on things, but like there's students, in tech, there's student performers, there's students that are acting as, kind of talent escorts behind the stage, like getting people where they need to go. If you're any of those roles and you graduate, there's like an actual career for you. There's if you wrapped cables, you can get a job wrapping cables. Right. What?
Did that for a while.
You did. But like, what do you do when you're literally the personality hire? There is no job for that. So, and I'll also say, this wasn't necessarily, though I had the idea for a podcast that spring. And I kind of tried a couple episodes on Zoom by myself, talking with like people who I thought were knowledgeable and admirable and had like feel good stories. And it just wasn't fully what this is. And I had to figure out what the missing piece was. And the missing piece was Trent. But really, after I tried it the first time or two, and it was kind of like, me on my own, and I knew it wasn't really working. And then at the end of, getting to the end of college, really my initial reaction was like, okay, I'm done now. That was cool. I'm good with it. And actually, after that last showcase, were you there in my apartment that night? There was a cake. I figured you were.
Yes.
Trent was there. Jacob was there. Sierra, the guest from our first ever episode, was there. Anna, our design, who did our design work for the logo and everything, was there. A few other of our really close friends. And they got me a cake, like for the last showcase. And on the cake and icing, it said, this is only the beginning. Well, at the time, I've never admitted this. At the time, I kind of thought like, that's a little, okay. Like, really? The beginning? No, this is the end.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, you
like
didn't see it. Yeah.
Not in a bitter way, just in a like, I'm at peace. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm good. And then to come to Trent with the idea of, okay, maybe we can do this and do it in a way that's low stakes, we don't have to put in a lot of work, whatever. And then to see the way that the show has grown over the past year and the way that has then intertwined with me rediscovering my motivation for a career. And then to look back and go, oh, who were the people in that room? Oh, what did that cake say? Oh, they really carried this. I had to find the ambition, but like...
Yeah.
They knew the potential.
Yeah. I think this just reminds me of a conversation I had the other day where someone was like, so is it really worth like going to college for music? And every time I get that question, I'm first of all, I'm like, I don't know how to answer that because I already did the 4 years. Like I already did that. Was it worth it? Yes, though. Like I'm always kind of amazed when I get the question because I'm like, yes, even though some people may see majors like songwriting or even music business or any of those like going on a path that's so unexpected and with no clear ending, some people may see that as like a waste of time. But to me, it's like the biggest takeaway I take from going to Belmont and getting education is A, like I got a really, really well-rounded education that wasn't just in music, but B, it's like the people you meet are the ones that are going to keep you going. So yes, it's always worth it. And like, this is just proof.
Yeah. Well, and then like secondary to that, right? Like obviously the people immediately present for that moment, when I look back now, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah. But then like secondarily looking at like the people we've had, like you guys, like people who've been friends with us for years, who've maybe been on like a secondary social circle or whatever, but people, you know, it's a mutual admiration society. Like we look up to you, you look up to us, like we all are encouraging each other. And then to go, oh, that was so cool. We actually got to do an interview with them. And then,
and they always
it's proof, right? Like it's a documentation.
And they always said at Belmont, like, oh, the person sitting next to you in your class is probably going to, could be the person running the record label you're trying to get signed at, or, you know, the publisher, whatever, be the artist that you want to sign. And like at the time I was kind of like, I guess so, but like, what? And then, you know, now that we're 2 years out of school and there has been some time for people to develop their careers, it's like I am noticing, oh, she's like running the licensing, you know, department, or working under the person running the licensing department. And I was in class with that girl, and, you know, we had some form of a relationship. And like, you see that kind of happening all over the city. And it's just like, that was what Belmont was for, in my opinion, and for the purpose. Like, I had considered going to Berklee School of Music, and my main reason I couldn't was because of the financials. But I think like they didn't give enough aid, but I think that happened for a reason, because Berklee, from what I knew back then, was not as much of a full liberal arts education. It was very specialized in music. And I was just someone that knew, like, okay, I don't need to go to college for this, and I don't need to go into debt for this. And I found a way to not, and to get an education that made me feel like a whole person. And I think that that's so important, because that's what inspires us. Like, there's so many classes that had nothing to do with music that were philosophy classes, literature, that even now I'm like, as much as I don't want homework and love my flexibility in my schedule now, I'm like, I could totally see myself someday like getting back into that like learning rhythm, because as creatives, I think that we need that. And that's been something big that in the last 2 years, it's like something's missing in my inspiration. Like, where's the fire,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I'm definitely grateful for from our education as well, as like the well-roundedness. I think of like some of my favorite classes at Belmont being about like visual arts, not necessarily music, or like logic and reason and all sorts of different things that weren't music or music business in our case.
I mean, the class we did on food insecurity and the research we did on that for a year. I mean, just another example of me not being able to do anything on my own. Being like, yeah, Trent, we're gonna do it this way, right? And, but I mean, and that also, but that even like that, like gave us, it deepened our friendship. It gave us more experience working together on something, so that when this comes around and I'm kind of making the pitch to him, and then he's agreeing to do it, and then we're figuring out our roles in this, like just that this could be tricky to do. If we could have resented each other after a year of doing this. I mean, this is a lot of hard work. He puts in a lot of hard work.
Oh, thanks.
He's like,
and you're still so amiable.
Damn right I do. And he does. But I mean, like I didn't, when I asked him to do this, I was asking for a co-host. I didn't realize that I needed like an editor.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
So, and that might be in our, kind of expansion, finding an editor so that he doesn't have to.
Yeah, doing a podcast is a lot more work.
And I didn't realize that I was becoming a social media manager.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
No, that is something that I would say is there are so many parts to this that we didn't expect that we would take on, and there are so many parts to this that I will never have to touch because he can do that stuff, and there are parts of that he doesn't have to touch because I can do it. And thank goodness for that.
Yeah, we really thank God we have our roles like.
That's the beauty of a partnership. I mean, I think Sophie and I experienced that in our own way with our co-writing. Like, we each have our same thing, own strengths and things we focus on, and then we're off doing very separate things most days of the week. But then we come together to write, and it's like coming, home to your cousins after you haven't seen them for years, and it's just the same every time. And so it's like, we get in the room, and it's like we have reached a point where we've written together enough that like sometimes we have a third in the room, and like we don't even realize we didn't communicate, but we both got the same wavelength, and
then the other person will be like, wait, what?
Yeah, and that just comes from living together and being friends. It has really nothing to do with just the fact that we're co-writers, but I think it's helps a lot to be friends.
Yeah.
But what's so special is like we get in the room, and even though like our music styles are so different, we both somehow support the other perfectly in the room, you know, and help them achieve like, you know, something that maybe wouldn't be a song I'd write for myself, but that I can find a way to give Sophie what she needs from me and vice versa. And I think that's why our collaboration worked well.
Well, so take us into that collaboration. Is there one of you that's kind of primary lyricist and one of you that's kind of arranger, or is it like just what's it?
Honestly, it's kind of...
Because, okay, technically one time I participated in all this.
You did.
Probably
many years ago. And that was our first ever co-write, I would say, between the two of us. I think that was our first ever, like... And Dan was there.
I don't know how you managed to do that, but you do that a lot.
I know how. I think I like had a flight get rescheduled from
Yes.
one night to the next day.
And
or
so
something.
did my... Oh, we were at the airport together, weren't we, at one point?
Wait,
and then
there was
we
another
both...
time we were stuck in the airport.
Shoot, I don't know which time it was. There was a time where it was the time my car got hit by the tree.
That was later, I thought.
Okay, so this was... I'm confusing two different airport stories.
But I could be wrong. Oh, I don't remember. But either way,
Years have passed.
We were all there. Okay, but so I don't remember that though, because it's been years and years.
don't remember.
So yeah, who does what in the co-write?
Honestly, I think it depends on the song, but I think like we're both melody and
It's
lyrics.
really a rhythm. Well, a rhythm between the two of us, like, because when I was trying to explain it initially, I'm like, it's not
she does
like a
lyrics, she
John
does
Lennon
melody, yeah.
and Paul McCartney, which they both wrote the lyric. Or no, I'm not John Lennon and Paul McCartney. Who is
Bernie Taupin and Elton John.
Yes, that's what I meant. The two of them, it's not like that for us. I think the strengths and the weaknesses are kind of on a smaller level within just the music overall. But I would just say it's like a rhythm between us. I don't
Much
know.
more like Paul McCartney and John.
Yes,
Lennon.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, see, I never really considered how that dynamic works until one day, kind of recently. I don't know who we were talking to about it, but Trent just casually goes, yeah, like Dan kind of brings in the idea and like has like, the skeleton of it. And then I'm more the editor. And I never even thought about our interplay in that. And honestly, that dynamic mirrors a lot of the other dynamics of other things we do. But like, I never thought that I had an assigned role and that he had an assigned role, but that is just kind of, I guess, the bread and butter of that, or what it's been. Yeah. More often than not.
Yeah, I feel like if we're writing, like sometimes we'll go in, like with The Snow That Never Freezes, like it was originally a song just for Amalia, but then we both ended up loving it so much. But usually like we'll go in and Amalia will be like, I really want to write a song about this. And then I know my role is more to be like, okay, how can we make that core message really hit? Sometimes change things melodically, and then vice versa. So our roles kind of change depending on what the outcome we want it to be is.
Yeah, and there's a lot of the time it's just a different level of contribution depending on the song too. And but the fact that the song, and this is with any co-write and any co-writers, like would not be what it is without that other person. And I specifically with The Snow That Never Freezes, our third writer was Lexi Stabler, who is in London with us. And that's how I got, so close with her and began co-writing more and more was after that trip. And so this is like my dream team right there, is to have the three of us and people who know my relationships, know my stories. And I think that is just a whole new level of co-writing, because you don't have to explain what happened to you because everybody just knows. And that's why you're writing about it. And, but yeah, in that situation, I think the way that song came together is I'd had a verse that I'd sat down, written, and then gotten stuck, which happens a lot, especially when I'm in the rhythm of lots of co-writes. I try to then be like, okay, how can I refocus to like write some songs on my own? And whether that means just finishing it to finish it, because I can get stuck and be like, I'll just take this to Sophie, and then there's two brains working on it, which in this situation is what I did. And I'm so glad that I wasn't like, I need to finish this by myself. I can. Because the reality was like I could have written something, but it wasn't going to be what it became. And when I was in that room, she had a title and a concept of Snow That Doesn't Freeze. And then we like she said it like almost like, I remember her thinking like, oh, has nothing to do with what your song is about, is kind of what her thought process was behind it. But she like said it. And then immediately I latched onto it, and so did Lexi, and we were just like, wait, that's cool. And we built off of it. We reworked the whole song to match that. And that's the coolest thing about co-writing is and if you're comfortable enough with someone, you'll say the thing that you don't think is gonna work. And then whether it is that little nugget that ends up being the song or just something that triggers something in me, that's what happens all the time, is she'll say something or I'll say something that really is not what should be included. But then it makes her go, but this from that. And then we reached where we needed to go.
Yeah, I think it's so cool because before I came to Belmont, I never did co-writes because I was like, I can do it by myself. Like, I don't need to ask for help. I feel like I'm mainly that type of person where I'm like, no, I can do this by myself. I don't want to ask anybody for help. But ever since I started writing with Amalia and people like Amalia, it's like I am now like, if I have a song where I get stuck, I'm like, no, this song will be better if I have another brain. And especially with Amalia, just because we live together and are so close, it's like I can take a song that doesn't really make that much sense, but she'll know what I'm getting at, and then we can kind of remake it into something that does make sense. So it's really special.
Sorry, I was just listening.
Well, and for you guys, you'd mentioned, so you had this idea for the podcast, you made it happen, and then we've talked a lot about Belmont and the Belmont Circle and everything, and you're really wanting to take this podcast to other listeners and other viewers.
Yeah.
What is that audience that you're wanting to bring it to, and like, what is your plan of action there?
I mean, anyone and everyone, but it starts, I think, with Greater Nashville, the Greater Nashville community, because yes, there is the Belmont bubble, the Belmont adjacent bubble, now that we're a couple years out of that, and it is such a great problem to have, is that we're still getting DMs from Belmont people, basically saying, we would love to be on the show, people that we knew from college and whatever. And, we're going to accommodate all those to the best of our ability, obviously. But we also, we've been trying to look in some other spaces as far as who can we get that might bring a different crowd to, because if the whole point is to intermingle your audience, maybe your audience with her audience, but if you have the same audience, then we're not doing as much service to our artists that we could be doing, so it starts with Nashville, and then the other component to that expansion is us getting to make original music again, which has been an off and on struggle for the past several years, largely in part because of me having issues with swollen vocal cords, and I mean, you were at.
I was gonna ask you about that actually.
Summer. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I was going to ask, I think what I need most out of you guys is it would be a lot of editing work, but I think it would be really funny if you interviewed yourselves and like switched between had you in one seat, and then you film all the questions and you film your guys' answers to it. But second of all, I went to see you guys play, and you had told me that you were struggling with some vocal cord stuff, so I was just going to ask how that was going.
Yeah, so it ended up being several rounds of steroids, 3 full days towards the end of that summer of absolute vocal rest. Yeah. And then baby stepping back into a social life and, a day where even, it started as like a work day is kind of taxing on the voice. Just to go to work and talk to people and do that. It got better to where it was, okay, now a taxing day looks like a day at work and then coming home and doing the podcast. Then it got to where it was, okay, I can go to work and come home and warm up and sing for 30 minutes in lower keys and then cool down. And, that's taxing, but I can do it. And so it's gotten better and better and better. I feel like I just had the busiest 4 days of my life. And so I feel a little bit tired, but I compared to where I would have been 6 months ago, I feel great. That's great. So we've been... that's why we've been writing. I feel like not only is it a place where I feel like I'm getting to a point where I can actually do this and do it justice and do well by my bandmates, but also we have new things to say. We're not in college anymore. We're not doing this in a goofy way or in a way where it's, oh, I'm tired, let me do 4 shots and go out and no. So and with that is going to come a whole revamp and rebrand. You're going to see us release under a new name.
Are we? That's not being released yet.
I don't
Can you
think we're gonna release that yet.
bleep it?
I don't think we're gonna release it yet.
I can I'll tell you guys off air.
Okay.
But it's gonna be under a new name. There's gonna be some familiar faces on that stage and some new faces on that stage. But before it's on a stage, it's gonna be on a record.
That's literally so exciting. I'm so excited to hear it because I think the main one that I remember is, what was it called? It was a Valentine's Day song.
Dr. Valentine.
Yes.
Sam Sparrow cooking on those verses. And like
I like
songs
that
like
one.
that, right? Like they're fun, they're great, they've got harmonies.
Yeah.
I don't know if the new project is going to feature any holiday related.
But we've got new things to say, and
Yeah.
I've been the demos. We worked on a couple demos, probably more by the time this actually airs. I'm stoked.
I'm excited.
Awesome.
What are your goals with that? Like, are you looking to reach like new audiences, looking to play, looking to what's
Absolutely. I mean, obviously playing live that's I loved doing that years ago. I would love to do that again and do it with the same confidence. And I God willing, I hope I'm actually able to do it. But it's obviously ever so slightly self-serving. We want to play our own music, and we want to do it for whoever's willing to listen.
So do we.
But the vision here is
Okay, I see. Yeah.
we are playing a show. Chances are people on that bill know us through mutuals or have been on the show before or have a friend who's been on or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're not even just doing our music to do our music and have our little moment in the spotlight, though that's great. But hopefully we can do it in a way that works, no pun intended, in concert with having a podcast and an interconnected network of musicians and of their
Totally.
fans.
That's awesome.
That's literally so exciting. And I think obviously there's always a level of maybe a little narcissism when it comes to this career because you have to have it, and being delusional. You have to be both in order to do it. But I also think like most musicians, like you guys were talking, have a greater purpose with it, like connecting people or creating a community. And that's definitely something I relate to.
Yeah, it's a creative outlet that I think we need generally just for ourselves, but then it serves several purposes.
For sure.
And so you talked a little bit about your work day and coming home and doing the podcast. So first of all, I want to know what you guys are doing outside of this podcast to support yourselves during the day or whenever. But then how are you also finding time? What do you do to find time to still fuel that creative side and make sure that you don't let that slip away from you, because it can happen so easily?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's challenging. During the day, I run some volunteer programs. So that's a really fulfilling thing, but it is a full-time job now. So
That's so sweet and so good to have something that's like fulfilling that isn't music, that is you can kind of escape like all of the creative and do something that still has a purpose outside of it.
yeah, no, it's so rewarding. I will say when I get home, sometimes I'm gassed.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And creativity is far from what I want to focus on. But surrounding yourself with creative people, like Sam Sparrow is one of my roommates.
Sparrow?
Yeah. He's an incredible songwriter and creative. And sometimes he just oozes creativity and I can't help but feed off of that. And that's a great benefit. People like Dan in our band do that for me as well. And then sometimes it looks like scheduling a day of the podcast and being like, cool, just got to lock in and grind this out, because it's not the exact same type of creativity, but it is another fulfilling thing outside.
That passion project.
Yeah, exactly. And there are days when it's both of those.
Yeah,
different
and you don't realize, like you at home don't realize how emotionally fulfilling yet draining it's like doing this is. Like sitting at a table and having a very like locked in conversation, one that's buoyant and fun and all of the things, but at the end of it you're like, wow,
Yeah.
it's almost like getting off of like a long meeting or something, like
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
or like going to a gym or something and doing a workout where it's fulfilling, but at the end of it you're like spent. Yeah. And so for me, my normal work, my work day, my 9 to 5, whatever, is I'm an assistant sales manager at Palmetto Moon. And that fills my bucket in some ways because it allows me to be a leadership role, a mentor role. A lot of our staff is late high school, early college age, And so they're maybe one little season of life behind me. And so they're all the age that we were when we met. And so that allows me to have a lot of fun coaching them through things, or one of them's looking for a prom date and it's the end of the world if he doesn't get his prom date, and it's like, dude, I was you, it's not that deep, like, but you get to do that in a much more empathetic way, right? And it's fun, it's funny, and it's social. And I think some of my interactions with our customers when I'm spending time on the sales floor actually just keeps my personality kind of, it allows me to kind of be a character, but
for sure
not in a way that's performative. Like, obviously, yes, it's your job to be polite and like, whatever, but there's no cameras, there's no expectations. So I kind of just get to be my goofy, silly, stupid, fun self sometimes. And especially like at times when I was not fully connected with that element of my persona for things like this, that kind of helped solidify it. And for me to say, oh yeah, these are pieces of my character without the camera. So it doesn't, like, why not bring them on camera or on stage or whatever the capacity is. But so that's a good chunk of the day. And the way to find balance in that, I tried it a couple different ways. I used to try it where it was, I'm either going to work that day or we're doing a podcast tape and we'll do a couple episodes and it'll be, a taping day basically. Honestly, kind of like it better when I have a day that's work and then we do a podcast in the evening, or something to that effect, or even if it's a co-write, if it's a whatever, and then there might be a day that's just laundry, cooking, laying around, or even like a social media, like just spending time editing the content, where it's physically restful and not so emotionally, socially draining. I'd rather kind of have a full day of that or a full few days of that and then have a relaxed day than try to put everything on one day, because then you have no days off.
That's so important in this career and creative careers. It's physically impossible to cut out those days for yourself. It is possible, but it feels physically impossible.
Right.
I've really struggled with that. I think Sophie especially does too. Like we're most of the time extremely motivated, very like goal oriented, and there's always more you can do, and there's always someone out there doing more than what you're doing. And with that, there's that like pressure, but everyone's different. You have to find your own rhythm, and that's what I just had a tonsillectomy 4 weeks ago and removed my tonsils, and that was forced.
How do you feel?
I feel good. It was something I had feared and anticipated for so many years, and was back and forth. And if anything, my decision to finally go through with the surgery was as much a physical decision as it was a full emotional transformation as well. And so, I mean, on like a personal level, more emotionally and routine wise, I mean, that first week was completely forced. Like, I could not talk. I couldn't do much, So Sophie was there watching me drink out of a straw from mashed potatoes or some shit. It was so bad. But I made it through that week, and I was like, wow, okay, if that was the worst of it, I've got this. But the interesting thing was, like, I couldn't get back to music that second week. It's really, this is the first week that I've taken co-writes and done, a lot of talking for content and on camera, and I feel good and I feel capable of doing that. But those 3 weeks that I spent after the surgery were so telling for me on my routine and my habits that it really reworked my nervous system in a way. I had 3 weeks of like, I'm going to color for an hour, and then I'm going to watch a show for 3 hours, and then I'm going to do some yoga, and like no schedule. I couldn't work for 3 weeks. So that was like completely open time where I wasn't really supposed to, talk a lot, socialize. And if anything, it has reframed kind of in the next year how I want to approach my career and what I need to prioritize. Because I was reaching a point after a year of, lots of constant releasing music being really on top of it, setting deadlines for myself that made me feel satisfied with what I had done. But a lot of that caused me unnecessary stress and pressure that was from myself that nobody was holding me accountable to. And once I realized that and during the surgery, I kind of just was like, I need to let go. Like, I need to release the reins, and I need to be okay with the fact that I'm taking an entire month at least of doing nothing. Like, maybe I'll post a little bit here and there, but I have got to just give my mind a break, give my body a break, and find a new way to live my life, because it's like I think we're realizing it's not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why so many people get burnt out.
Well, so take us, both of you, I mean, you kind of answered this already, Amalia, but feel free to add on to what you said. But I guess I'll kind of direct this towards you, Soph. Like, take us back a half step to that kind of period between after college and whatever you would consider now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah, I feel like after college I was still because I'm someone who's like, I was very motivated in school. Like, if someone tells me that I need to do something and then I will get a good result or a good grade from it, that is the way my brain works. Mm-hmm. So when it was open-ended to like, I could edit this video today and I could work on the song today, but if I don't, no one is going to get mad at me and I'm not going to get a better grade if I do it or if I don't. So that was really hard at first. But then I realized the thing that was really motivating me was just sharing the music. And so I kind of started building momentum off of that. And then that's when I started going live. And I think it's a double-edged sword, the going live part, because if I did really well, like if I was getting a lot of engagement or if someone was commenting really nice things, I would get like these instant dopamine hits. But then the next night, if I went live and it didn't do as well, all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? And then it would be this cycle. So I'd go every single night and it'd just be up, down, up, down, up, down. And then inevitably, like so I was going live. I basically went live every single night for 2 months straight. It was insane. And
I heard it from my bedroom.
I was exhausted and I felt like I couldn't stop because I was like, it's fleeting. I'm not going to keep these. I was getting really good views and I was like, I'm not going to get these numbers again. Like, I was freaking out. So I was like, I need to go every single night. I cannot stop. I was like not going out anymore. I wasn't watching TV with my friends anymore. I was literally just in my room on my phone, which was really fun. And I would not trade that experience for the world, because I got to meet so many amazing fans through that experience. And I was having so much fun. But at the same time, like, singing for that many hours a night, every single night, over and over and over again, was a lot, and it was tiring. And so then when the TikTok ban was approaching, and at the same time, I've already talked about this on the last episode, but I released my debut single, the TikTok got banned. And then after, everyone on TikTok live, their views were different and mine were different. And while I was still so incredibly excited to connect with the fans who stuck with me throughout that, I was so burnt out that it was like, I was like, I need a break. And so I took a break. I still went on and off again, live, on and off. But what I was finding was really discouraging was that, like, the algorithm wasn't really picking up on the songs that I was marketing. I was posting every day. And so it was like trying to find a way to stay motivated and not care about the numbers behind everything is still like an ongoing struggle. And it's also like, I do realize, and I know like a bunch of my favorite artists have talked about this, when you reach the next level of success, you think that you're going to feel fulfilled. And you think that it's going to be like, oh, I made it. I can feel happy now. But that's not how it works. Every single time I reach a new level, I'm like, this is great. I need to do better than this. This isn't enough. Yeah. And I've always been that way. But with grades, it's like you can only go to an A. So it's like, I can't get any higher than that. With this, the ceiling is never ending. And also the length I have to fall is also never ending. So it's like, it's kind of like, I feel like I'm kind of like floating, I guess, and I'm trying to figure out what direction to go in next. And the other part of it too is, it's like right after graduating, I had this big energy burst. I was like, I don't need to go to school anymore. For that first year, I was really, really motivated. And also, I was extremely lucky that I wasn't having to work like a full-time job at the same time. So I was getting paid through social media, but I wasn't having to, like work a second job or anything like that. And that was also really helpful. Now it's like, now that I'm 2 years out, social media isn't consistent enough to just live off of and pay for songs, because a lot of people don't realize how expensive production is. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, like, how can I keep my creativity, have a social life, post every single day, film content, go to Rights, do my studio sessions, be a human, and work and budget and save thousands of dollars so I can spend, because an album is you could easily drop $20,000 on an album if you include music videos, photo shoots, and everything. And I don't got that. So it's like a matter of figuring out, like, how do I keep my motivation and do all of these things without getting burnt out? And I've realized, similar to Amalia, that I can't do all of those things. There is no physical way. There's not even like enough hours in the day. I feel like recently I've been having a trouble getting motivated again. So I'm kind of in this phase where I'm like, okay, I need to focus on like getting up in the morning and taking a walk or something just to kind of clear my head. And I want to start reading this book called The Artist's Way. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but I want to start doing that. It's funny, like, I've been motivated to write, but not motivated to post or go on live. And I'm not sure totally why, but I think going back to therapy, because I've been through some things this year that have made it emotionally kind of a roller coaster. Going back to therapy, continuing to write, and continuing to like do affirmations, as I used to think affirmations were stupid, but it's actually so important to be like, no, I can do this, and to like manifest things and to tell yourself that you're capable of it. So I think it's really like post grad being a musician where the path is so like, there's no straightforward path and everyone's path is different. I think
doesn't work well for type A's.
Yeah, it does not work well for type A's. So I'm reminding myself that I am on my own path, and my idea of success has to not be rooted in what other people think of me or how I am perceived elsewhere. It has to be from inside. So I'm kind of on a self-discovery journey trying to figure that out, and I'm trying to be happy with the process. But it's hard, and I think a lot of artists don't talk about how hard it is, and that's why so many people burn out. But I'm feeling good about this year, and I'm like excited to get back into my normal motivated state.
Yeah. You want to talk on that era of post-college, pre-whatever now is?
This new year could possibly be the shift into a new era for me, arguably. I think that there was a lot of figuring out to be done after college, and I think that it probably took a year of just like getting up and being like, whew, okay, what's going on around me? Right. Before I was even able to start figuring that out. So now that we're probably another year since that point, 2 years probably ish, and yeah, 2 years, yeah. Okay, that's how that works.
Yeah.
So now that we're about 2 years out from that, I think I am starting to figure that stuff out, and I would say that is the new chapter. Those was a lot of vague terms. I guess it's just like career stuff, personal stuff, creative stuff. Like, I think that our new project has got me really excited about a direction to go down.
Yeah. I mean, I almost hesitated earlier to say about having written as much as we have, because I was really thinking, well, in some ways, maybe we've just begun the writing process. You know, we have a handful of things that we're really happy about, but I think it might just be that creative burst is that. It might end up being more or less what we've already written. You know, we might polish some things or add one more or whatever. But what I think is really fascinating is that I think you guys are in a place now that I was in a year and 2 years ago. As far as I wasn't burnt out. I was a little worn out, but I wasn't fully burnt out. But at the end of college, I was kind of, like I said earlier, I was kind of like, I'm done. I wasn't in a rush to get back to things. And I think the other component to that I'm looking back on the past, like high school and college and whatever the time's been since. So basically the past decade, I've always either been very involved in extracurriculars and passion projects and career things or whatever, or very like homebody, probably in a relationship, unmotivated, because it's like everything I need is very domestic and very immediate, right? And I think I've kind of, the pendulum swings, and I kind of felt that pendulum swinging again this summer, and then was like, oh, hell no. No. I'm not going back around that loop again of like busting my ass on, you know, career or extracurricular things to try to find something that's a little bit more, I guess, real than all that. And then to put that all away again it was like, no, I'm not doing that again. And so it actually took finding the healthy motivations.
And that's a big distinction.
Both your faces just perked up. Talk.
Like it's because like the last week, now that I am getting back into things, it is hard for me not to go like either overdrive or nothing at all. I'm either kind of between, and I think we were just talking about this last week. It was like we both woke up, we're like, God, we don't want to do anything today. Like, I've been laying around for 3 weeks, and there's like one day I woke up and I was like, get me out of this house. I'm about to lose my mind. It's like I spent 4 weeks healing and then an extra week of being snowed, iced in. And I was like, the week I was ready to get out, and I was forced into another week of staying home. And I was like, okay, here we go. And then I started to get kind of too comfortable with that again. And it's hard to find that balance, especially like to be motivated by dopamine and by pressure and like kind of more somewhat unhealthy motivations, which is like, oh, I'm looking at everyone else around me and what they're doing. I need to be doing what they're doing. Oh, so-and-so's doing 4 co-writes a week. Well, I only did 1 or 2. Like, that's not enough. And then realizing I'm a different person. I have a different job. I have different, behavioral things, like everything. We're all different people, and we can't compare. Like, it's not, something where it's very much set out like,
you must do this.
Yeah, these are your hours. These are your things to do. And the people who work those jobs and they fit well, it fits well for them. But for us, everything is so subjective and also like flexible that I think that I'm trying to find that healthy motivation, not an overdrive from like, oh, I need to get validation that what I'm doing is good. I need to achieve. And instead act from like, okay, I didn't do much for 3 or 4 days. It's time to do something.
Yeah.
But how can I, ease back into it without going overdrive? Because after taking 4 or 5 weeks off, I was like, the panic of like, oh my God, I'm behind. And then I was like, says who? Like, there is no timeline here. And I'm just trying to ease back into things. And there were things that I wanted to do this year I was considering before my surgery. Like, oh, I want to go to Europe. I want to do a solo trip. I've never traveled by myself. I'm in my 20s. Like, relationships are getting more serious. And like, I want to experience certain things, And before the surgery, I was like, oh, like, I don't know if that's going to happen in 2026 because I'm going to be having a surgery. I'm going to be set back because of that. And then I'll need to really focus on the music and getting things out and working. And will I be able to request off from my server job and blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, once I had the surgery, I was laying in bed for 3 weeks and I was bored and thinking of what my year was going to look like. I was like, I'm letting like a serving job that I can get anywhere keep me from like experiencing something that a year from now I might have more career driven 9 to 5 or whatever it is, or just something that is keeping me from doing those things. So why push it off when it's something that, if anything, could be transformative for my career as well, which like our London trip, studying abroad was, I would say, the most transformative thing I had at Belmont. And that's partially why I want to go back. And I think the same is for you.
I think that's the most amazing part of the job, though, is that like with other jobs, if you're like if you're training to be like a neurosurgeon, taking 3 weeks to go to Europe might not be that helpful. No. But for us, it's like you actually do need that time for your brain to take in all of these new things, because you might see like a sign on a bus and want to write a song with that title or something crazy weird like that. And so I think something for me has been realizing that it's like I cannot just work all the time, and I do need the health, bring it back to the healthy motivation. I'm like trying to remember what those motivations are, because it's not like, oh, this person is doing this, I should do that too. Instead, it's like I've been realizing I did this thing for the end of the year where I asked fans if they wanted any personalized videos, and I got so many really, really sweet messages. And as I was reading through them, the ones that were like, oh, your song really helped me through this, that I was realizing like is a motivation, because that is really like the point of all of this, is to know that if someone is going through something, they feel less alone from hearing something, or they feel like they're part of a community. Like that is the point. And so trying to realize, even if it's just one person, even if it's my mom who says it, like that still matters. And so I'm definitely trying to hone in more on that.
Yeah. What's bringing you joy?
Right now, I would say a lot of what has been bringing me joy recently has been letting go and opening up the possibility that like everything that I've restricted myself from doing in the last year or two or put pressure on is my own doing. And I realized that during my recovery, and I decided like, you know what? I'm going to do that trip, and maybe I'll do another trip. And I'm also going to work on a larger EP project and kind of try to do something conceptual again. And the reason why I've been avoiding that is
Did
because...
you just announce that on my show?
It ain't official, but it might be coming eventually. Years in the... No, I'm just kidding.
Years in the making.
But, like, to just have something, you know, on my radar that I'm excited about, that feels like a new phase of life that I want to write about and release. But I think that, like, a lot needs to happen and shifts need to happen in my life before those songs are selected and recorded and released. And I want to do more writing, and I want to do more experiencing and reading. I've been trying to read more and get into classic literature and just like consume and experience, because I felt like I had reached the ceiling with what I had been writing about and thinking about. And I feel kind of ready for something else. And the weird thing is I don't know what that is. And being okay with like, okay, like I don't really have anything on the horizon right now. And that makes me nervous, and it makes me think like, oh my gosh, you know, it's been 2 months or whatever, a month since I released a song. If I don't start working on something now, who knows how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
And that's because I was in that rhythm of every 3 months last year. But it doesn't feel right, and that's all I know. And
Look, I am not of the camp of you have to wake up every day and write a song. Some of the best things I've written have been like months and months of nothing. Mm-hmm. And then you're just like in the shower humming to yourself, and you're like, oh, there it is. And, you know, and then you literally you run out, you grab a piece of paper and you get a few lines, and then, you know, so take your time with it. You know, enjoy the little things. Let life fulfill you, and those songs, when they are ready to come, when they are ready to be written and released, will be there.
Exactly.
Trust in yourself enough to know that they'll still be there. You know,
not limiting yourself at all.
What are you joyful about?
Yeah,
Or
what
what's
are you
bringing you
joyful
joy?
about?
Honestly, right now, relationships with friends and family, and I think I've been putting a lot more intentional energy into those recently, and I think that's bringing me joy.
I kind of am in the same camp. I feel like we've been talking a lot because there's a lot of open-ended possibilities for like where we're all gonna be in like a year after this lease, because I want to go to LA, and that is something that is making me joyful, because I think I need a new start at some point, but I'm not ready yet. But part of that is also really hard is like realizing that like these friendships are friendships that obviously I will make new friends, but it's not going to be the same. The amount of lore we've built up over time will never be repeated.
Yeah.
And
We discussed before we hit record.
yeah, exactly. And also just these friendships have been so incredibly important to my growth, and they are like what makes me so happy. Like just going home, I've realized like something that I've taken for granted is like going home and finding like my roommates on the couch and we all get to watch a show together. Like something as small as that is so fun. And so definitely like relationships. And yeah, I'm kind of in this same boat as Amalia too. Like this year I'm gonna still release some music, but I think I have a feeling that 2027 is gonna be a really good year, and I don't know what that means yet, but I just have this like feeling about it. And I think this year there's some songs I want to release that are really, they mean a lot to me, and some of them are fun and some of them are not, but definitely excited for those too. I think I'm just excited to write and to try and love the present. I was watching The Office the other day, and Andy was like, how do you know when you're in the good? I wish there was a way to know when you're in the good old days before you left them. And I've been trying to remember that every single day, because I'm like, when I'm 30, I'm going to look back at this and be like, that was the good old days. So I'm trying to really
That's the series finale, right?
Yeah.
Right before he sings I Will Remember You.
Yeah.
Wow, they're locked in on The Office. I also love The Office.
My
but
roommates and I have been watching The Office.
That's
Yeah.
so sweet.
I have seen it 10 times. All of the seasons. I have an issue.
No, I think you just have a comfort show.
Yes, and it is
I think
that.
that's okay, and I think I would hope it speaks to you differently.
Every time. Yeah, with age too. I think I watched it for the first time in high school, and I didn't get that quote, the good old days, because I was like, what do you mean? And then now I'm like, oh, wow.
One day you'll be old enough to finally read fairy tales again. That's what we're writing a song kind of based on right now. Is like, that there comes all that new meaning. And that's super special to me, because I've always been so in touch with like, my imaginative side and whimsical side. They always joke that like, whatever, I'm a little West Coast fairy or whatever, but and that's why I have a little fairy tattoo. But like, I don't know, that quote was so special to me. It's C.S. Lewis, and I was just like, wow. Well, for one, it's so true. Like, there are so many hidden meanings in literature and in those stories. But yeah, that's important for us, I think, as we get older to connect with that childlike wonder and joy and everything.
No, but I will say something. I will say that I think it's so cool what you guys are doing and building community and kind of keeping, because a lot of the times after college you don't reconnect, especially in this deeper, meaningful of a way, and especially not in a way where we can look back years from now and be like, that's crazy to hear exactly what I was thinking, exactly what we collectively as a group were thinking. And I think it's also really amazing what you're doing with music, and I cannot wait to hear what you have to come.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's impressive to see what you guys are doing. I mean, you both obviously you put out songs last spring because you came on the show to promote them, and you were very gracious to do that, by the way. We didn't really exist yet. We were like asking a favor
You
of
didn't have to.
and you
it was
trusted
so
that it
fun.
was going to work. So thank you for that, first and foremost. You've each put out several singles since then. And I know that we've said 2026 is maybe going to be a slightly slower pace on that, but we're just as excited as ever to hear what you've got in the works, because everything you've put out so far, we've deeply enjoyed. Again, it takes me back to that one particular show last fall where you guys sang Snow That Never Freezes together. And that was before that was even out. And just seeing your growth as artists from our perspective has been as much a gift as your friendship. So thank you for doing what you do, and take the time for yourselves to, rest, have balance, find the right motivations, but keep being yourselves, because we need you and the rest of the community needs you.
Aw, we love you guys.
I'm getting a serotonin overload. Okay, I feel like I want to clap. Like,
Yeah.
Can you do that one?
yeah. Oh, we're doing. Wait,
can't
I'm
do-
so
I can't
bad
do-
at this.
Can I just do the hands one? I
figured that one.
I'm bailing. I'm going to the hands.
It's like something about keeping these fingers straight while
What do you do with this finger? This looks.
I feel like we should start doing.
All right. This has been a podcast. Tune in next time.
Thank you guys for joining us for this special episode of The Mixing Room, as we were joined by Sophia Roselle and Amalia Fleming, kind of recapping the last year of this journey. If you guys have liked what you've seen and heard today, go ahead and rate us 5 stars on Spotify. You can leave a comment there as well. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment as well. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and if you want to see more clips from this episode and others, and maybe a sneak peek at what's to come, follow us on social media. You can find us at Mixing Room Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and we are now on Facebook as well. You can follow us there to get updates from the show.
Alrighty, as always, I'm Trent.
I'm Daniel, and we'll see you next time.